Welcome to my video on how to hold the violin bow. If you're new to the channel, my name's David Price. I'm a professional violinist and passionate teacher, and it's my goal through this channel to get as much of my teaching knowledge as possible into video format. My students are consistently getting into top music schools, and I want to share that knowledge and methodology with a broader audience. If that sounds like something that would be helpful for you, go ahead and subscribe. All right, let's get into the bow hold. Now, the bow hold may seem like a simple thing to tackle, and in a way it can be, but don't confuse simplicity with it being unimportant. Being meticulous about getting your bow hold correct early will save you hours and possibly even years of work. There's possibly no other instrument that requires the level of attention right at the beginning as the violin does. So be sure to be patient and give it the time that it needs. I teach the bow hold in a somewhat unconventional way. I do it because I feel like this way of teaching the bow hold better imitates what it actually feels like to play the violin. If you have some sort of practice partner that can help you to learn this, I think that will be more helpful, but I'll also show how you can find the bow hold by yourself. The way I teach the bow hold is to not dictate exactly where every finger goes, particularly because everybody's hand is shaped slightly differently. There are some guideposts that will help us to find the right spot, however. I start with a relaxed arm, and the only somewhat unnatural thing that I do with this arm is that I do what's called pronation, or wrist turn. It's the motion of checking your watch, and this is the position that we'll be in when we play the violin. After this, I want to lift the bow up into the hand until this hand is taking some of the weight of the arm, and so it'll feel quite heavy for this hand, and it'll lift it up until my weight is kind of hanging by this hand. And then the things that I'm watching out for as I'm positioning my bow hold are I want this middle finger to be right in between the rubber grip and the frog. And then I'm lining up my pinky to be on top of the stick, and then the index finger I want to contact the stick in between. You can see where my finger is actually a little indented, in between here and there. Right here is where the bow goes, in between those two knuckles. Then I'm also positioning the corner of my thumb to go in the corner of the bow, of the rubber grip here. So the corner of it touches the rubber grip, and then the back part of it touches the frog. Those are the four markers that I'm looking for. Pinky on top, index finger in between these two knuckles, middle finger lining up in between the rubber grip and the start of the frog, and then the corner of the thumb where the nail begins, going into the corner of the bow here. And that's the proper bow hold. Why do I teach the bow hold in this way instead of placing specific markers where you should put every finger on the bow? I do it because it much better imitates the feeling of actually pulling out a beautiful sound with hanging arm weight rather than gripping the bow tightly with your fingers. We start off by just grabbing the arm, and Kate, just try and be as limp as a fish and hang all of your arm weight into my hand, and don't support it yourself. If this ends up being tricky for you to do, you can try and drop the arm, and if the arm doesn't just automatically drop on its own, that means you're holding up some of your own weight. So Kate's doing a great job of hanging her arm weight into my hand. The only somewhat unnatural thing that I do is to pronate the wrist. Then I'm gonna bring the bow underneath the hand, and I'm gonna lift up her weight using the bow. So I'm gonna take the arm weight from this hand and transfer it into this hand. And so now this hand is feeling very, very heavy. I've got all of her arm weight over here. You'll notice also that when I'm lining this up, I'm doing it according to all of the things we talked about, the 4 points to watch out for. So the index finger is in between those two knuckles, the pinky's on top of the bow, the middle finger is in between the rubber grip and the frog, and then Kate bring the corner of the thumb up to the corner of the bow, and then I turn it to vertical, and then I hand over responsibility to support the bow over to Kate. And that's the perfect bow hold for Kate's hand. After you've gotten to this perfect bow hold, you want to do this about 20 times a day. Just get really, really comfortable finding this position until it's just absolutely automatic. So I'll show it a little bit faster. Relaxing the arm, taking the arm weight, giving a little bit of pronation, lifting the bow up into the hand so that the fingers are nice and curled, nice and relaxed, and it's really heavy, feeling the arm weight get transferred over to my right hand. Then touch with the thumb. Finding softness and relaxation. Perfect bow hold. Something to watch out for when you're first trying to do this, it can actually be quite difficult for some students to figure out how to hang arm weight into the bow. And in particular, when you replace the bow underneath there to hang the weight in the bow. One thing to help this is you can actually hang the arm weight on the bow beforehand, and just make sure that you're keeping your wrist pronated. And then I can gradually sort of move the bow towards the bow hand. The closer I get to the bow hand, the trickier this becomes, but at least it's a little bit of a progression in terms of hanging arm weight. Then as you go all the way over, making sure you can still maintain that arm weight. And it's really critical that Kate continues to be pronated in order for this to work. Touching with the thumb, and bringing it up. Being able to do this is going to be a very important prerequisite to other things that we're going to do on the violin. You need to be able to find a perfect bow hold very easily. Take the time to do a lot of repetitions in the initial couple of weeks, and then you won't have to worry about it so much. After those initial 2 weeks, you can probably reduce it to about 10 times a day. After getting good at finding your bow hold, I'd recommend going on to this next exercise, which is rabbits. This exercise will solidify your bow hold and will also help you to develop more dexterity and flexibility.